Hello, everyone. This is Laurie Smith. I'm glad to be here. I'm just kicking back tonight. I haven't done a show in a long time, and it's 10:30 p.m. here, Calgary, Alberta, Saturday evening, and I'm just kicking back. And I decided to do a Survivor Weekend check-in. And I used to do these shows a long time ago on Blog Talk Radio instead of doing video, and so I could kick back and do them sort of more intimately and instead of just trying to be looking a certain way on a video sort of thing. And so I thought, that's what I'm going to do tonight because I really want to talk from my heart. I haven't done a show for a long time. I had many scheduled. I did a whole bunch for April, National Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month. I almost did like a whole month's worth of shows there. Then I got sick. I had a bad cold, and then actually I thought it was COVID. It was just a cold, and uh, and then I was working and just trying to get through. And then I ended up getting sick again, which is really sad. Like a month later, and by May, things just sort of went downhill. So um, I was in so much pain and just so much agony and just not feeling well, and ended up losing my job. So unfortunately, and so it's just been a bit of a nightmare. And so for survivors of abuse, I'm talking from my heart, and it's very difficult. These things are so difficult. Some things are completely out of our control, and there isn't much, we can do. I know so many people in my own personal life. I have so many very close friends who are going through so many things. And, these are people that are older and younger, different ages, in different parts of the world, not necessarily in my own community. And, it's so hard because what do you say to people that are hurting and suffering in the moment while they're going through these horrible things? Health issues of their own or health issues of their family, um, losses of every kind. And these things are so very difficult. All of us go through all of this stuff. Unfortunately, this is part of life. And if you have the skills and the coping mechanisms already set in place to be able to kind of get through this stuff, it's just so much easier. Whereas if you're coming from, especially being a survivor of abuse, if you're coming from that sort of situation, it can be much more difficult. Because if we haven't set up those coping skills and those coping mechanisms to be able to cope with the challenges of life, it can be hard. It really can. I know for me, I've been facing situation of age. I'm getting older. I'm not 60 yet. I mean, I'm not even 57, but I'm approaching 60 every year that rolls by, and I'm like, wow, it's hard to find a job at this age, especially if you're not a manager, and some type of management that you've been doing for years and years. It's difficult. Um, so or you have a degree in something that somebody needs, needs a manager in this type of field, right? So I'm sort of screwed in a way. And my own physical situation isn't that great. I have problems with my body, mainly just arthritis and from so many things, accidents and abuse. So it's like, just trying to walk or stand for me for a whole day is can be difficult. I manage pretty well as long as I have sort of time to recuperate. So I'm sort of looking for jobs that are more part time, and that way I can manage because I do this all without pain meds, and so I just manage my pain on my own. I know eventually if I live long enough, I'm gonna need pain meds, so I'm trying to do it myself and just rest when I can rest and take a load off when I can. Stretch and get exercise when I can. So these things are difficult, and um, what do you do? Just sit down and give up? It's tempting sometimes just to be like, that's it, I can't do it anymore. Will come a day for all of us when we can't do it anymore. And um, it's a sad day, right? When you get to that point where you can't do it anymore. And it's kind of like, well, not much we can do. Now we have to just keep fighting through, really, and it's hard. It is hard, and especially this last few weeks, I've been sort of busy trying to figure out what I'm going to do. If I don't get a job, I'm facing possibly living in a shelter. I don't use drugs, so I don't think I'll be on the street. But the thing is I mean, I really at this age and this stage in my life don't want to end up in a homeless shelter. And coming from abuse, I mean, it's kind of like, you know, what is this just my life? Is this what my life is just supposed to be? Just horrible, And this last few years, I haven't been able to find any decent jobs, to be honest with you. And I don't want to be mean and put people down, but I'm sure they don't mind putting me down. But I'm gonna be the better person and not run people down. But the thing is these jobs that I've been getting are kind of like sweatshops, and they don't care about people, and they don't care about your situation. They don't care about my situation. They don't care about any other staff situation. So it's not just me, and it's all about the the bottom line is their pocketbook, and they don't really care. I haven't seen this kind of stuff ever. Not even when I was working in the 70s. I mean, I started working when I was in high school, and I was just okay, maybe when did I start working? I want to say, well, I know I was 16 when I started working, so 82, maybe 1982, right in there somewhere, 1981. And I started working, and I had bosses that were decent. And then I had in my 20s I had some great bosses, and in my 30s I had some wonderful bosses. I've never seen such a bunch of pathetic people in my life. In the last few years, I've run into people that I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. And people will tolerate that garbage, and it's kind of like, well, then, you know, more power to you, because I won't. I was abused as a child, and I'm not taking any more BS from anybody. And it's like, I just really believe that it's important to treat people with dignity and mutual respect. It's not going over and above, and kissing somebody's behind and, babying them and stuff like that. I'm talking just genuine respect and mutual, respect and dignity. That's really what I'm looking for. And I've talked about that on quite a few of my blog talk radio shows, in the past, that, that's what I put out there and that's what I expect to get back. And if I don't get it back, I don't tolerate too much abuse from people that are supposed to be my employers. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's really unfortunate, but oh well. So, it's just life. And so I haven't been able to find a good job for a long time. So I just keep looking and hoping to find a good job where I can treat people with respect, and I will receive that back from my managers, and from the public. You can't really control the public what they're going to do. I mean, you run into people that have a bad day. Even your manager can have a bad day. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people that that know your situation and actually really don't care about you. And I'm done with that because I grew up with that. My parents really did not care about their children. I've been doing some work lately, just putting some more pictures on my Facebook, in albums and stuff like that, because I don't want to lose these photos. It's just me. I have no family. I've got no legacy, no children. It's nobody to leave this stuff to. So it doesn't really matter, I guess, if it got lost. But the issue is that I have friends who support me in very much, in many ways, um, just being there for me, and they know my situation because they grew up with me, so they know I was abused. And some of these photos are very important for me, to be able to share, because I wrote about all of this stuff in my books, A Life of Death, Redemption, La Vida Juvis, and um, my other book, One Child Abuse Survivor to Another, The Journey. And so um, I wanted those pictures to be there for my friends, for the future or for anybody else who's interested in my story. And so, looking at those photos, of course, then brings back a lot of memories. And so this last couple of weeks has been mainly sort of looking back a bit, kind of going back a little bit and thinking about, life as it was growing up abused and the impact that it had on my life and, how I handled it. And what really stood out to me was the people that were there for me that that weren't part of my family. So these were people that they didn't have to be there for me and they didn't have to try to be good to me or help me out, but they did. And I was really blessed to be able to have people in my life like that who, um, saw that I was struggling as a young teen, as a preteen, and even in my teens, and knew the home that I was growing up in, and wanted me to get out of there, wanted to intervene, and I was determined to stay in the home because we had almost been removed from my home, and so I wanted my mom to love me and do the right thing and take care of me. And so, I didn't want to be removed from my home. And I'm glad that I made that decision. As much as I always say I should have been removed from my home because I should have been. But the thing is in my heart, I knew that I couldn't live with my other siblings going, haha, yeah, you got removed from the home. You know, mom didn't love you. And I knew that's exactly what they would say to me because my siblings are none of my siblings were all kind of enemies. We were. They're all dead now, but well, they're all passed on. But the thing is we didn't bond. So not because of the abuse. It wasn't like a situation where we all bonded. There was only a couple of my siblings that actually bonded, and everybody else was kind of at odds. So unfortunately, that's what abuse can do. It just divides, right? So I knew that that's what the case would be. Had I been removed from my home, and if I had any contact with my sister or my brother after that, they would have been like, well, you were just so bad, you had to be removed from the home. When in actuality, the beatings that I was taking were just horrific. I did post a picture on. I do have it on my website, but it's so small you can't hardly see it. And I did manage to get a better scan of it so that it's bigger and you can actually see it. And I put it on my Facebook, so I'm going to actually update my website this probably tomorrow, and put some more of these pictures on there. So that you can see. I blew up this picture so you can actually see it, and the damage to my face is incredible from the beatings that my mother would dish out, and just black eyes and bruises and welts, and it was just horrible what she did to me. And my dad was my abuser too, but I blame my mom for most of it because my mom was the one who was mostly abusing me. My dad was beating me up now and then, but it wasn't as frequent. It was just as bad, but it just wasn't as frequent. So I always tend to gripe about my mom, and pretty much because my mom, I mean, my mom was. They were both kind of just abusing me because I was just in the way. I was just there. They didn't want me there causing any kind of issues or problems. They didn't want me in the house really. And so, what I thought about when I was looking at all these photos and different things that I managed to hang on to through the years, which is a miracle, that I actually still had these photos, was that these people were so good to me. And really, they're still in my life today. And there's a few of them that still are my friends' parents who are still in touch with me today. And we don't talk all the time, but they see my stuff and they know what I'm doing, and they they know what I went through. And so I think that they always tell me nice things like, that's awesome. We're glad that you did this. you know, because I was talking to my friend Donna Shear. Donna Shear, she's my publisher and she publishes my books. She's the first one with Tammy Bame, actually about the same week, just told me that I needed to publish my work. And Donna Shear was talking to her, and we talk all the time. And she was, you know, she was. I told her, I said, you gave me my dignity back by giving me my voice. I was writing a public facing blog called Not So Fond Memories Growing Up in an Abusive Household. And this was back in 2008, roughly right around the end of 2008 in the fall. And she was like, "You need to publish that." And then my other friend, Tammy Bame, said the same thing. She's also a published author. They both are. And she said, you should publish that. So I was like, really? Okay. If you think it's worth publishing, I don't know. I'm just putting my truth out there, man. And so that's what I did. And, these people gave me my dignity back. But I thought about it and I thought, because I'm in a situation where my life is turned upside down, it always ends up this way. I always end up in a situation where things aren't looking very good. You know what I mean? And that's been from my youth all the way up. And my husband passed away almost 4 years ago now. August the 4th will be 4 years. So I'm just a few weeks away from my losing, the anniversary of losing my husband. And I've got no job. I've got no income. I've got no help from the government. I've got I'm possibly going to be homeless in a homeless shelter. And I'm like, wow. So my life has taken me here, you know? And I'm like, I am not going to let this tear me down. I'm just not. Um, the things that I'm going through today are not the same as when I was being abused. Because I have people that tell me, like, I don't know how you can remain so cool and so calm about everything. I mean, your life has fallen down into the toilet. You're going down the drain, man. And it's like, and you're still smiling and you're still seem to be okay and enjoying yourself. And it's true, I am. And it's because I'm not being abused anymore. Back when I was young and just this little kid, this little girl being abused in every way, including sexually, and the fear and the trauma that was instilled into me from the time I was born. Um, really, that was the hardest part of my life. Absolutely. Learning how to deal with it was another hard part, which was when I started my healing journey. Just prior to it, I was ready to commit suicide. Again, for so many times I had thought about it. I hope the sound is actually going through because I haven't used this headset for a while. But I was pretty sure that I was going to do it, and and then I made the decision to live and to get help. I thought I am not going to do this. If I do, that means my abusers win. You know, and because of the work that I do and because of the stuff that I've done in the past, I have a lot of survivor friends, and many of my friends on Facebook are survivors. I would never give names out or give people's information away. But the thing is these people, many of them struggle and they are hurting and they are contemplating suicide. And I'm like, don't do it. Don't let your abusers win, whoever they were. I win because I stay alive and because I love myself and care enough about myself to win in this situation. And that is to keep going no matter how hard it gets. Like I said before, day after day, I'm on my Born in Hell series. I mean, I was very serious about that. I'm like, we have to keep going. And no matter how hard it is, and, if we need help, we need to keep looking for help, which is what I'm doing. Currently, I'm looking for help. And I'm also looking for a job. But it's, we can't give up, people. We just can't. And we have to keep going. I know because two of my brothers committed suicide. Like one of them did commit suicide. The other one I feel was a suicide because it was a drug overdose in a shelter. And I think he was just like, I'm done. And both of them were in their 30s. I've made it to almost 60, so I've almost lived another life past what they lived. And I'm telling you, it's worth it to hang in there. And I mean, it hurts. Like, life is really tough. We lose the people around us. The older you get, the more you will lose. If you still live, because people start dropping like flies, especially your good friends and some family members. I mean, they're going to go. None of us get to stay. And so, we are going to experience loss. We are going to experience hard times. We are going to experience our own health issues going downhill. Um, this is the name of the game. It's life, and it's hard. So that's why I always tell people, learn, get the information on how to help yourself, how to reach out to other people to get help. You know, there is help out there. And like my brothers, they never, they would get help like when they were in prison and stuff because they would always end up in prison or, jail or something, and they'd get help and then they'd go back on the street and they'd be back in the same mess, and they just couldn't be reached, I think that's just so sad. It really is. My two of my brothers, and one of them at the time, the one that sexually abused me, I didn't care if he killed himself because I was so hurt by him, in every way, and I really didn't care about him. And but I didn't want any of my brothers to kill themselves, and I just think it's sad, that people give up and give in to their abusers because that's exactly what they did. By my two brothers killing themselves, my abuser parents who went to live on to be old people won this fight in their instance. You know, my abuser parents were well looked after when they got old, and nobody was abusing them, but they sure didn't mind abusing their own children. And it's just sad. And then the two of my brothers are gone, and they allowed the abuse and the horror of what we went through as children um, to take them out, to be the be all and end all. That's where I was like, no, I draw the line, man. I'm in control of my life. And there's no way that I'm going to allow my abusers to have that control in my life at this stage of the game. I mean, when I was being abused as a child, I couldn't get away from them. It was pretty obvious. I mean, I thought about running away and stuff like that. I thought, well, I'll just be abused and raped on the street. I may as well just be raped here at home. You know what I mean? I'll just be beaten or killed on the street. I may as well be beaten by people at least I know. It's like, what's the choices? You know what I mean? I certainly didn't want to go into any kind of foster care situation. I had a good feeling I'd be abused there too. That's a fact because I know so many children who were in foster care that were abused and some killed. Right. So it's not the answer. And the thing is, like, I couldn't help it. It wasn't my fault that my parents abused me. I mean, I had people telling me, "Oh, you deserve to be treated this way. You're just bad. You're evil. You're a bad kid. And then I would have my friend's mom. My mom beat me up, and I mean horribly. Tried to kill me, and I was just like, I went down to my friend's house because I didn't know where else to go, and I was like stumbling around, and blood pouring off my head, and I was all beat up, and you know, my friend's mom was like, "Oh my god." You know what I mean? Like, "You got to get out of there." She did an intervention for me, her and her husband, and my mom's words were that she didn't care, you know. And they said, "Well, we're going to get her removed if we see one more beating, one more scratch, one more bruise, one more anything. We're going to get her removed from you. We'll go to the police." And my mom was like, "Good, go ahead. I don't want her around here anyway." And I fought to stay in that home with this mother that was never, ever going to do the right thing by me. She was never going to hold me, ever. She was never going to love me. She was never going to say nice things to me. She was just always going to hurt me. And in the meantime, I'm just trying to have a decent life. You know what I mean? And it's like, um, so I just turned to drugs, at a young age to mask the pain so I could laugh. I was high, everything was cool, you know. And then when I got off the drugs, I was like, wow, man, I got to get my life together. You know what I mean? Like I was starting so behind the eight ball. And when I moved to Canada and I came up here, almost the age of 30, I really felt a huge relief come off of me to be away from my abusers and my abusive life down in the States. And I met my husband, Cecil Tornerup, and he's such a beautiful man. And he really helped me a lot. He helped me to get through a lot. And, I just could never thank him enough. And he never tried to change me. He never tried to make things right by fixing things. He allowed me to be me. He allowed me to go through what I needed to go through. He allowed me just to live with him and as I was. And he wasn't trying to, like I said, to fix me or change me. And he was a huge part of my healing journey. And so yeah, it's a hard loss to not have him in my life anymore. So these things are so hard. But yeah, no, I mean, so many people will give up, throw in the towel and say it's not worth it. And that's sad because that allows the abusers to win the fight. And that's why I was like, no way, I am not doing that. Like, I'm winning this fight. I'm staying alive. I don't care where this life takes me. I've already been in hell. It's like- I was born in hell. So if it takes me to the streets, it does. It's no big deal because I win this fight because I learned how to do life without drugs, without alcohol, without anything like that. I've learned how to do life, and even in when it's hard, and it's really hard, like situations people go through. I mean, it's like I was saying when I first came on here tonight. I mean, these things are so hard for people, and we all experience these things at some point in our life. Health issues, job losses, people dying around us, horrible things going on. We all experience all of this stuff at some point. You can't get through this life without something like that going on. And it's hard. It really is. And like I said, I know so many people who are struggling right now. And my heart just goes out to them because I know how hard it is. It's like, and they can't help me. They know my situation. It's like there's not much they can do for me. They're there for me to talk to, and they're there for me, but they can't pay my rent and they can't get me a job. You know what I mean? So it's like it's really really difficult. These things are hard, and you know we just have to keep hanging in there. And like I said, and learn how to cope. And that's what I'm having to go back and revisit my toolbox for survivors of abuse and pull out the stuff that I know works for me. And and go back and say, okay, what worked for me when I was really stressed out? What worked for me when I wasn't handling things so well? What do I need? I had to sort of sit down, a couple weeks ago and say, what do I need to do? So starting to panic, I don't want to be homeless. And it's like, I'm old now. I don't want to be homeless. You know what I mean? Like, good Lord. Um, when I was younger, I'd have been like, oh, well, whatever. But now I'm old and I'm like, I want to be on the street, right? And then especially up here, it's cold. It's really cold in the wintertime. I don't, if I was in Hawaii or something, it wouldn't be so bad. But it's like, it's really cold up here. I I won't survive on the street very long. So, my heart's just broken because there's nothing I can do to fix the situation. If people don't want to hire me, they don't. If I can't find a job, I can't. These things are hard. You can't force things to happen sometimes. And so what I've had to do is just sit back and say, no, I'm going to relax and I'm actually going to enjoy the next few weeks and take it easy. And that's what I've done. I've just been listening to music, going through my pictures, putting stuff on Facebook, putting albums together on Facebook for people, my special friends who have helped me through the years, and especially when I was young. And, talking to people and just enjoying my time instead of being worried and all upset about this stuff. It doesn't do any good. So you can't, like I was, I sit here and my cat just died in June, my beautiful little cat that me and my husband had for 15 years. So my husband's passed away now, my cat's gone. So it's like everything is being taken away from me. My job's gone. My health is going. I was abused as a child. I could sit around and just cry the blues. But and a few weeks ago, I was starting to panic a little bit. I was like, oh my God, this sucks. Um, which then immediately leads me to think of suicide, which is really sad, but it does. And then I'm like, "No, you know what? No. I've been through a whole lot worse." Being abused as a child was absolutely the horrific thing. It's like that was the worst, you know? I mean, what else can there's nothing anybody can do to me, and that's what I was saying. I've always thought about that because there's nothing that anybody could do to me that's worse than what I survived as a child. So, because as an adult, you can handle things so much better than being a child being abused. So it's like I'm like, "Bring it on, man. Just bring it on." I'm gonna enjoy the rest of my life regardless of what's happening and regardless of how many months, days, or years I have left. And I think that's doing me an honor and it's doing me, um, justice instead of allowing my abusers to win this fight and allowing the abuse that I suffered to destroy me. And then on top of that, other life issues that come along that could easily just wipe you out as a person because all this stuff like is very hard to deal with. Um, it's like, no, just got to keep going. And so I've learned a lot over the years, especially from back from 2007, 2008, when I first started my healing journey. It was like I really didn't know how to cope. And I've learned a lot through the years, because that's going back many years now. 2007, that's a long time ago. So yeah, maybe it's just age too, getting older and starting to realize that we have very little control over what happens to us in life, but we can ultimately control how we're going to deal with it. And what kind of person am I going to be? Am I going to be the type that lashes out because things aren't going well for me? Or am I going to be the type of person that says, hey, this is life and I'll get through another day? I'm a survivor of abuse. I can certainly survive this. And that's what I decided. I thought, okay, I don't need to be panicking. It's all good. Where this life takes me, I don't, is where it will take me. So, through the end of the month, if I don't find a job and get some help from the government, I'm going to end up losing this apartment. I'll probably lose my internet for a little while. So I may only be broadcasting a few times here. We'll see what happens. But I thought I might I'm just doing a real intimate show here tonight, and I'll probably maybe do some more broadcasting before the end of the month during the day when you can see me. I'm just having a nice relaxing evening, and I was watching the sunset and listening to music, and I just thought, I should come on and do one of my old type of shows that I used to do with Blog Talk Radio and just talk from my heart. And, for survivors out here, hang in there. Do not give up. My friends, do not give up. No matter how hard it gets. Just we have to find resources. Like I have a resource of people that I can call if I need to talk to somebody. They can't necessarily pay my bills. You know what I mean? They can't pay my bills, or get me a car or anything like that or find me a job. But they're there for me and they care. And it's really great to have friends, like real friends who really care about you. So reach out to people that are trustworthy, and don't suffer on your own. You know, there's like if I had to, I'd call a crisis line. You know what I mean? Like I'm staying alive. I'm doing this, and I wish my brothers would have called a crisis line. You know, it's really sad. So I'm doing this life, and I'm doing it because I'm honoring that little child that was abused, and I'm honoring that part of myself by saying, you know what, I'm doing this. I'm sticking it out, and I'm gonna do the best I can with what I have. It may not be the best according to the world because, the world's always looking down on somebody. It's like, well, oh well. But it's the best that I could do. And at the end of the day, I'm stuck with myself. So I have to be okay with my attempt at doing life. You know what I mean? And I'm okay with it. I really am because money was never important to me. Goods and stuff is not really. It doesn't mean anything to me. People in relationships mean everything to me. And, you know, at the end of the road, you can't take any of this stuff with you anyway. So it's like, you know, it was never in my mind to try to get wealth or gain, that sort of stuff. Um, so, you know, I'm happy with the end result. If I if I live another 5 years or 10 years, it really doesn't matter to me. I mean, at the end of the road, I've done the best job that I could, and I also really try to enjoy myself. Like I play guitar, and it's I'm learning songs and stuff. I'm not very good, otherwise I'd play for you. But I've learned a lot of techniques and a lot of really cool stuff. I just need to put it together with some songs now, which I was doing until this whole mess started with me possibly losing my place. So I still enjoy myself, and I think that's important. I don't want to go through life just letting life dictate um, what kind of a situation I'm going to be in. I thought, well, if I'm homeless, I'm going to take my guitar and my Bible, and I'm just going to go hang out and sit in the park and play my guitar, read my Bible. I'll just hang out. It's like whatever. I'm going to have a good time. You know what I mean? And I'm thankful, so thankful that I'm not a drug user. I used to be a heavy drug user, and I live downtown Calgary, and I see the drug users out here, and they're not going to make it. You know, these are younger people. These are, uh, 20-year-olds, teenagers, 30-year-olds. They're going to kill themselves. And I sit there and I look at that and I'm like, oh man, somebody's got to reach those people. Well, you can't. They're too high. You know what I mean? I know. I did that. I did that until the age of 22. And I had to make a decision to get off the drugs. It was up to me. I was like, I got to make a decision. Do I want to live or do I want to die? Because I'm going to die. And I knew it. I knew I was going to die if I didn't get off the drugs. I was using heavy drugs. And I got off the drugs at the age of 22. Roughly, it took me a year to do it. But so I'm, 35 years or 38 years past drug use. I'm thankful, very thankful, to be on this side of it because I know what it's like to be on the other side. So I look at these people and I'm like, somebody's got to reach them. How do you reach them, right? So who knows where this journey's going to take me? I really don't know. I really I like to do what I can, to reach out to survivors of abuse, and whether it's local here or around the world, it doesn't matter. I just, to be a message like you did not deserve that, and you deserve so much better, and the only person that can change this stuff is you. Can't go back and change the past. Past is the past, and we can't change what happened to us. It's done. But we can change how we feel about ourselves. We can change how we feel about life. And and we could start developing this thing like, hey, what do I want to do? Like I went on to do some pretty cool stuff. Like I mean, coming from abuse and everything, I mean, and drug use, and I think a lot of people thought that, um, you know, I'd be dead, right? But I ended up going to culinary cooking school. I got myself into cooking school, which is amazing because I had to test in and everything. It was terrible. And hi, Crimson and Clover, HP. I'm glad you're here. I hope this is meaningful for you. I've only got so much time left, and that's why I always say to my friends here that listen to my stuff and have been tuning in for years. Um, I've only got so much time, and I have these messages I want to get out to people. It's like, especially for young people who come through, from abuse, garbage, and just been so mistreated, and going through life just haphazardly, no love in their heart. It's like, that's no good. That's no way to live, man. I know because I've been there. And I've been there, done that, And I had friends who were like gang people, drug users, drug dealers back when I was young, and they'd be looking at me like, I'd be like, you got to hang in there, man. You just got to hang in there. They'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? And I'd be like, you just got to, I've always been a bit of an encourager, even when I was abused and high on drugs. But the thing is, we have to keep hanging in there. It's really, and learn to enjoy this life because it is really, this is it, you know? And that's what I thought. I thought, because I grew up such a shitty situation. I thought, man, I want to enjoy this life. I I want to do things, but I have no money and I'm kind of not that smart. You know what I mean? So and an ex drug user, so how am I going to do this? Um, so I started to think about what I wanted to do. And I went to cooking school. I had a great time cooking for, part of my career and my life's work. The other part was office work, but I enjoyed cooking and it did take me to different places, Vancouver Island. I got to cook there. I got to cook in the Grand Canyon and different places all over New Mexico and even in here in Alberta. So cooking was a wonderful thing I enjoyed doing. Not everybody would enjoy that, but I did. And I went from down from the bottom of cold veggie prep all the way up to sous chef. So I think that's pretty much a good accomplishment. And it was a lot of hard work year after year, let me tell you. But I enjoyed it. I met my husband doing that, and he's a real chef, and that's how we met. And I'm too old to cook nowadays, so I have to kind of stick with some. I have too much arthritis, and it's hard for me just to stand up, let alone cook. So I got to do something a little more sedentary. But the thing is it took me to a lot of different places. I got to travel for a poor person who grew up abused. I mean, I did see a lot of places and got to travel and do some stuff that maybe a lot of people wouldn't have got to do. I didn't have any children, so that's another perhaps reason why I was able to do so many different things, and be a little bit more freer than maybe people who settle down and have a family and stuff like that. So but I didn't have any children, so I didn't have to worry about that. So I could pick up and just leave and go and do whatever, right? So that's probably part of the reason why I was able to do these things. But the thing is we got to find enjoyment in something. For me now, I can't afford to go across the street. I mean, I'm going to be booted out of my apartment here pretty soon. So I figured, well, I'll just take my guitar and my acoustic, and I'll just go sit in the park and I'll hang out and I'll strum for people. You know what I mean? I'm just not going to let this take me down. I'm just not. I'm not going to let this destroy my peace of mind. And that's the coping skills that I've learned through the years. After starting my healing journey and really learning how to deal with stuff that's very difficult. And because years before, I mean, had this situation come up, I would have probably been suicidal or something. You know what I mean? Just because I couldn't cope, didn't know how to cope, and everything was a real crisis. I mean, everything. And these are real crises. I'm facing a crisis, But the thing is this is life. It's kind of like, well, okay, it's just more crisis. I'm used to it. It's part of my life. So I'm like, well, then what am I going to do? How am I going to handle this? I thought, well, I'm going to go out in style, man. I mean, no matter what I'm doing, I'm going to enjoy it and have fun. And to me, that just makes more sense than sitting around crying the blues. It's like, that's not fun. I'm not in denial, And I mean, I've spent several weeks here kind of sad looking around at stuff that I'm gonna have to throw out if I have to move out. Stuff that, means a lot to me. And it's like, these things are hard. They really are. There's people losing their homes all over the country, people losing their jobs, and people are losing their health, which is really bad. And it's, what do? You know, give up or just chalk it up to that's life, and we have to keep going. And tomorrow's another day. I always look at it because, growing up abused, life wasn't looking so good day to day. And, it wasn't like I was being beaten every day or, sexually abused every day. But, it was the potential was there, because that's just how I grew up, being abused and beaten and sexually abused. So it's like, any given day could be that day, right? So when I went in the house coming home from school, I never knew what I was going to be coming into. It was a hard situation to grow up in, and it was from birth all the way through. So it was really just that was my life, and so things are so much better now. I mean, even though this is crisis mode, I'm much more prepared to deal with the fact that, hey, well, tomorrow could be a better day, right? And if you don't stick it out, we'll never know, right? It's like tomorrow could be a better day. So that's what I always tell people. Like I said, I have a lot of friends, survivor friends, who really, they struggle, and I get it. I was there. And I'm like, if you don't hang out, you're not going to know if tomorrow could be a better day. And if you're not ready to look for a better day or a better situation, I could end up with a better job. Who knows? It's not the end of the world. But if I do disappear for a while, that's pretty much what's happening. It's because I don't have the internet to broadcast. But I just thought I'd fill everybody in because I have missed you all here and my friends here that follow my work and have been following me for years. And I really appreciate it. I've missed you. I've been thinking about doing broadcasting for a while and keep putting it off. And I'm like, no, I better do it now. So before I run out of before I lose my internet connection. So yeah, all right, I've got my phone. So unless I lose my phone, then I won't be able to. But I just want to tell people, just hang in there. Things are hard. Reach out. Like if you can't cope and you're like, this is it, man. I can't deal with another moment. I can't even get through another 5 minutes. You got to make a phone call. You got to call a crisis line. If you don't have somebody that you can talk to, because sometimes we don't have people we can talk to. Sometimes we just don't have anybody in our life that even wants to hear from us. I've been there. I'm on my own completely. I mean, I live completely on my own, but I'm connected to people. I can call them if I need to chat, but they can't come help me. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like it is being on your own. But at least I've got friends. But the thing is I've been in periods of time in my life where there wasn't anybody to call. Who are you going to call? Sometimes there isn't anybody. So you have to think about it. Call the crisis line because I wanted to be one of those people that sits on the crisis line because um, I thought that would be good to do. Maybe that's something I could do in the future. But volunteer. Like there's a lot of those people don't get paid to do that. Some do, but some don't. And they're sitting there. They're not there for their help for because it's fun. They're there because they care. Maybe somebody in their own lives committed suicide. Maybe somebody they know and loved and cared about. Um, you know, took their own lives. So they're there to try to help, right? And so you just make sure that you realize that there are people out there that do care, and they're hard to find, but they are there. So you have to keep looking, right? You might have to look through quite a few and run into quite a few people before you find somebody who actually really, really does care. But there are people out there that really do care. And that's why you have to keep looking. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, my friend. And, I sure hope that, um, you know, things get better for all of us. I really do. I usually broadcast in the daytime, but I used to do years ago, back 2009 through 2012 or so. I used to do like blog talk radio shows almost every day. And sometimes I'd be sitting in my pajamas in the dark, doing these shows, but nobody knew because, it was a radio show. Right? So I'm like, it was more intimate for me. And I felt more able to just share my heart, and I thought I'm going to do that tonight here on YouTube. So, thank you for sitting here and hanging out with me. I appreciate it, and I wish you the best. And for all my survivor friends out here who will maybe check this video out this week or the next week or two, just know that somebody does care about you. I do, and you've heard me say this before because I have said it before, and that is you have to care about you. It doesn't really matter if I care about you, because I do. You have to care about you if you want things to change, you know, because I had to learn how to love myself. That was the biggest problem. I had people, my friends would tell me they love me, not my family. It's too bad because I really wanted my family to tell me they love me, but not lie, but just be real about it. But they didn't love me, so I had friends that told me they loved me, and that really really made me feel special because I needed to hear that, and it was wonderful. But at the end of the day, I was still ready to kill myself, and what I needed to do was learn how to love myself, that wounded part of myself that I really felt didn't didn't want love. You know what I mean? It's that little part of me that still pushes love away and says I don't need it, I don't want it, you know. And that's that abused little girl that I was that is so angry and pissed off, And she's still there. And I love myself, all of my wounded parts, all of me that is broken and that the world probably hates. I love myself. I've learned how to do it. And I think that it's very, very important for you to love yourself and to remember that you sure deserve love. You are worthy of love. We all are. And if we didn't get that love growing up, we have to learn how to do this stuff, you know? So, do that for yourself and take care of yourself, you know, and get the things that you need in your life. That's what I'm doing. It doesn't look like it doesn't appear to be happening, right? Because I'm just about ready to be homeless here, but I'm actually going to be searching out help. And I have been. So, but the thing is like, we have to keep looking for that help where we can find it. So you make those phone calls, contact those support groups, the people, that for whatever your situation may be, you know what I mean? And see what kind of help you can get and keep looking. If you need some help finding resources in your area, you can always contact me, or you can here on YouTube or anywhere where I'm at all over my stuff, or you can contact people at AU4H, Advocates United for Humanity, Donna Shear Lee Roberts, or you can contact people at NASCA, NAASCA, NASCA, National Association for Adult Survivors of Child Abuse. They're always really happy to help people find resources. And, that's Bill Murray and the team. So, there's tons and tons of online stuff that you can actually phone these people and talk to them. They will pick up the phone and they'll talk to you, and they'll help you find resources in your area, wherever you live. And some of them are around the world. So there is help. You have to hold on. So that's what I'm telling you, my friends. Do not give up. I'm not giving up. So, you know, I want you to stick it out, right? And it's not like I'm having a perfect life. I mean, hey, I lost my job. I lost my husband. My cat died in June. Life hasn't been going very well for me at all. But I'm sticking it out. And that's what I'm telling you. That's what you have to do too, right? So take it easy, everybody. Have a good night. We'll talk to you again soon. Hopefully in the next few days. I'm going to try to broadcast some more before I possibly lose my internet connection. Have a great night, everybody. Take good care of yourselves. I want to see you again.